9 years ago, in 2015, I gave the closing keynote at the 3% conference here in New York. You can find the full talk on YouTube if you want to look at it. And in that talk, I said to the audience, the rarest unicorn in our industry is the black female ECD. I said she is even rarer than the Latina ECD, the East Asian female ECD, the South Asian female ECD. And I said to the audience and our industry, I want you to embrace discomfort. Because we have been telling our clients forever, we want them to buy work that makes them uncomfortable. I said, it's time to hire women and people of color who make you uncomfortable. And by the way, these are all slides from that 2015 presentation. I said, so, when any leader in an industry is looking for an ECD, a creative leader, this is the brief I want you to give to the headhunters. I want to see non-white female ECD creative candidates who have the potential to do the job. And the key word there was especially potential. Because, as I explained, in our industry, men are hired and promoted on potential, and women are hired and promoted on proof. And so it's very easy for the male leaders of our industry to look at a young man coming up through the ranks and go, oh, he reminds me of myself at his age. I can see myself in him. He's great to have a beer with. We reckon he can do the job, and they proceed to appoint a man who all too frequently is not qualified to do that job. With women, it's a whole different interrogation. Well, how long has she been doing this? How well has she been doing this? In our industry, male leaders actively look for reasons to hire and promote men, and they actively look for reasons not to hire and promote women. So I made that point 9 years ago. As I said, I'm sharing the slides from that presentation 9 years ago. Today we're in 2024, and I want to drill down on that statement in more detail. Because today, white men are hired and promoted on potential, white women are hired and promoted on proof, and often not even then. Black of color men, and especially women, don't get hired and promoted. And so I'm going to share with you 5 reasons why the future of advertising is black women. Reason number 1 is something that I've been saying for many years, and that applies to any industry, any sector, any community. Always lead with the most marginalized. Because the most marginalized segment of any community is where you are guaranteed to find the largest untapped reservoir of innovation, creativity, and talent. That's just common sense. The most marginalized segment of our industry and our community is black women. Embrace, celebrate, champion, give power to, and give funding to the innovation, creativity, and talent of black women. And the evidence that the most marginalized is where you will find the most untapped creativity is all around us. For years, again, I've said to our industry, there is a place where you can easily find brilliant black creative talent to hire. And unfortunately, this place is no longer working as it used to, because the platform it's on is a complete and total shit show, but I'm talking about Black Twitter. Black Twitter, back in the day, was a fire hose of entertainment, of creativity, of originality, and by the way, to some degree it still is. But Twitter today, and by the way, I refuse to call it X, Twitter is, as we all know, a complete and total shit show. So it's not operating as it used to. And, you know, when I look back on the glory days of Black Twitter, there was one particular viral moment I wanted to share with you because, funnily enough, this took off in 2015, 9 years ago. How many of you remember hashtag Cookout News Network. Aha! So, and by the way, for those who don't know what we're talking about, go to Twitter and search this hashtag. You will find archived tweets that will give you a sense of why I was utterly glued to Black Twitter when this was going down around Independence Day weekend in 2015. I know I don't have to tell this audience how much our industry has appropriated Black culture without embracing it, without compensating it, and without celebrating it and rewarding it. But as I say, the evidence is all around us, and I do find it astonishing that, you know, at the top of our industry is a closed loop of white guys talking to white guys about other white guys. That is true of every industry. And when that happens in creative industries like ours, in popular culture, when at the top of Hollywood you have a closed loop of white guys talking to white guys about other white guys, what you get as a result is Joker 2 Folie à Deux, which is tanking at the box office right now. When you welcome women, Black people, people of color into the room where it happens, what you get is Hamilton. And again, coincidentally, because this timeline is spookily synchronous, Hamilton first launched in 2015, 9 years ago. And what astonishes me is every one of that closed loop of white guys talking to white guys about other white guys at the top of the industry has seen Hamilton. And Hamilton, I mean, 9 years later, we're more used to it. But back in 2015, Hamilton completely innovated and disrupted the old world order model of the Broadway musical in the most extraordinary way. And so I find it astonishing that the white leaders of our industry all went to see Hamilton, all raved about it, said how much they enjoyed it, never once looked at it, and went, we could have that. And importantly, and when we have that, we can have billions of dollars. Because Hamilton, not coincidentally, has been making billions of dollars, literally billions of dollars, over the 9 years since it first premiered. So the evidence is all around us. Reason number 3 why the future advertising is Black women is that Black women get shit done. Right now, all across this country, Black women are getting shit done in order to make a Black woman who gets shit done the next president of the United States of America. Again, self-evident. So, reason number 4, Black women will save advertising even though it's not your job to. And this is the point, from here on in, my remarks are addressed directly to the Black women in this audience. For everyone else, this is an overheard conversation, and by the way, you'll get plenty out of it as well, but from here on in, Black women, I'm talking to you. I coach, I have a personal coaching practice. I coach women, I coach men, but I coach many brilliant women, white, brown, Black. I coach many brilliant women who have no idea how brilliant they are because for their entire careers, they've been held back by men, beaten down by men, had their careers sabotaged by men, had their ambitions derailed by men. And what I hear from those women is, I can stick it out in this toxic workplace until I get that title, then I can go somewhere else, you know, until the kids' college fund is topped up, then I can go somewhere else. I'm half English, half Malaysian Chinese. My English grandmother was a massively formative influence in my youth. She was a wonderful woman, she was Christian, but she was very, very interested in Buddhism. And so, you know, throughout me and my sister's childhood, you know, my grandma would regularly quote Buddhist proverbs to us. And there's one Buddhist saying that I've had, unfortunately, ample reason to quote to the women, especially that I coach ever since. Because this saying my grandmother used to repeat all the time was, the fool says, evil cannot touch me, but drop by drop the picture fills. And what I have to say to the women I coach is, you may think you can stick it out through those microaggressions, those micro-sexisms, those micro-racisms, and I'm here to tell you that every day you put yourself through that, your confidence is being eroded, your soul is being destroyed, your belief in your own potential and your own capability is being eradicated. Get the fuck out. And so this is why, black women, I want you to save advertising not from inside the system, but from outside the system. I want you to start your own industry. And when I say that, I mean start your own business. I don't, by the way, mean start an agency like all of those you see around you. Start something that gives you agency. But I deliberately articulate it as start your own industry, because when you start your own business, you can design that business to work exactly the way you want it to. You can design in the workplace culture in which you thrive, the work-life balance you want to operate, the business model that is you making money the way you really want to make money. And when you do that, you are designing the industry, you are starting the industry that we all want to live and work in. And every single one of you in this audience today has the power to do that. So I'm regularly interviewed about my career in advertising, and a question I get all the time is, so Cindy, what sexism did you encounter coming up through the ranks in advertising? And my response is always, a fish does not know what water is. Because when I was a young woman working in advertising in London in the late 80s, sexism was all around me, and I had no idea because it was the norm. And I share this with you because even today, women are so mired in the white male old world order model of our industry that women don't realize how ripe our industry is for reinvention and redesign through the female lens, and especially the black female lens. I've said this for years, women challenge the status quo because we are never it. So, I'm going to give you all, black women, a couple pieces of homework. So, here's your first piece of homework. When you leave Blackweek, I want you to take some time to yourself, and I want you to take a long, hard look at our industry and ask yourself, identify what you think is missing that should be there. What you would love to make use of yourself, but you can't because nobody built it. What you can uniquely bring to the table that nobody else has, and then start that. And when you are having that brainstorm, I want you to bring an additional dimension to what you're brainstorming. So I have a friend, Natalie Molina-Nino, who is a brilliant entrepreneur investor. And some years ago, she wrote a book called Leapfrog. It's a book for women entrepreneurs, for which she interviewed a number of female startup founders, myself included. And she asked us all about the obstacles we each encountered building our businesses and how we'd solve them. And the book is called Leapfrog because the idea is that the women who come after us can leapfrog those obstacles because we've provided the solutions to them. It's a great book. I recommend that you buy and read it. But I'm telling you about it because in that book is a line from Natalie that I absolutely love and I quote all the time. And it's referencing the fact that all too often, we are told work-wise, job-wise, startup-wise, find what you're passionate about. Start something around your passion. If you are, working with something you're passionate about, you'll never work a day in your life. Natalie says, forget passion, find things you want to punch. So, when you are brainstorming, ask yourself, what in our industry makes me red hot with rage every single day? What enormously frustrates me? What makes me unbelievably angry? Solve that, and I guarantee you thousands of people will pay good money for those solutions. So, and again, this is something I've exhorted women to do for years. I want you to get very, very angry. And I've been saying to women for years because we are never encouraged to get angry. Nice girls don't do that. And black women especially are not encouraged to get angry because we all know the trope of the angry black women. And I'm here to say to you, I want you to lean into that anger. I want you to get very, very angry, because when we get angry, we make shit happen. And we have so much to be angry about as women, and black women especially have so much to be angry about. So get angry. And when you're getting angry, when you're starting your own industry, I especially want you to think about how you would redesign our industry's business model. And I say that because, you know, again, for years I've observed that people tend to think one of two things. Either this is our industry business model, this is the only way we've ever made money, this is the only way we ever will make money, or there are a set number of business models out there, and I have to operate one of those. Neither is true. Your business model can be anything you want it to be, and a really good starting point for designing your own business model is to simply ask yourself, how would I like to make money? Because it's a safe bet you'd like to make money not the way you're currently making it. And this is important because I want you to make an absolute goddamn fucking shit ton of money. And I deliberately articulate like that because that is how much money I want all of you to make. And I want you to make that money, not just for yourselves, although obviously I want that too, but I want you to make that kind of money because when you do, you can use that money to fund other women. You can use that money to support other women, help other women, donate to other women. We need to build our own financial ecosystem because the white male one isn't working for us. So, in that context, next bit of homework, and actually this is for everybody, if you've never heard of this website, go to theygotacquired.com and sign up for their weekly newsletter. So They Got Acquired was started 2 years ago by a wonderful woman called Alexis Grant, who got fed up with seeing all the headlines about gigantic Silicon Valley unicorn exits for billions of dollars. Alexis started They Got Acquired to be a media center and a resource platform to showcase, celebrate, and advise on business exits and acquisitions across a spectrum from, at the low end, a couple of $100,000 to, at the high end, 50 million. The point being, at every point along that spectrum is life-changing money for founders. And I have to say, you know, I signed up They Got Acquired when it launched 2 years ago. I get their newsletter every week. I found it enormously educational because They Got Acquired has taught me that anything you start has acquisitional value for somebody. A couple of examples, you know, some time back, there was a case study of a man who started a tech design blog, one-man operation, sold it to a giant tech company for $1 million. A group of founders started a venture, launched it. 1 week later, American Eagle bought it. The point being that acquisition of a business no longer involves what people tend to think, which is working at something for years and years and years, generating a certain amount of revenue to be an attractive exit or acquisition proposition. And the reason I'm urging you all to go to theygotacquired.com and sign up for that newsletter is because that closed loop of white guys talking to white guys about other white guys at the top of our industry cannot innovate by definition, because homogeneity is the opposite of creativity. But they sure as hell can acquire innovation. Start the future industry through the black female lens, and you'll only have to operate it successfully for a reasonable period of time before giant holding company X buys it from you for an absolute goddamn fucking shit ton of money. And that is the quickest path to wealth creation in our industry. Because there's a huge amount of money to be made out of taking black women seriously. And while I'm here having this conversation with you, I do just want to remind you all of a piece of advice that I've been giving out, again, for literally decades, which is, as you design your business model, you know, as you negotiate your clients, your partnerships, remember that what you ask for is always the highest amount you can say out loud without actually bursting out laughing. So I could not be in a better place at a better time to be having this conversation with you, because the future is in this room. The future is here at Blackweek. The future is Black Madison Avenue. And every one of you, as I said, has the power to make that future happen. So a couple of years ago, Cannes Lions asked me to host one of their series of Cannes Lion meetups. So this is a series of half-hour sessions that Cannes runs through the week, where they ask industry leaders to do a session on any topic of their choice that may be informative, educational, helpful to the Cannes Lions audience. And so when they asked me to do this, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I hosted a session on redesigning the industry model. And normally the attendance for these sessions is 30, 40, 50 people. 150 people turned up to mine, which gives you some idea of the appetite for this in our industry. And I planned out an interactive workshop in 30 minutes, which I had to kind of juggle a bit because I wasn't expecting that large a number. But I said to the audience, okay, before we start, please organize yourselves into groups of 6. You know, find 5 other people, complete strangers, get friendly. Before we start, I want to make sure everyone's in a group of 6. So they did that. Then I said, congratulations. You've just met your 5 new agency co-founders. And the next 30 minutes, you're going to start your own industry. You're going to start your own agency. And I said, you're going to have 10 minutes to brainstorm this. And by the way, do not spend the majority of that time coming up with the name of your agency, because I know my audience. And I said, because you only have 10 minutes, you're going to start your agency based on the answers to 3 very simple questions. How will we be more creative? How will we make more money? And how will we all be happier? So I said, right, you've got 10 minutes to answer those questions. And because, again, there was such a large audience, I said, you then have 10 minutes for each agency to report back. And we're going to have to keep it moving. So appoint one spokesperson who will stand up and say, we'll be more creative because, we'll make more money because, we'll be happier because. Boom, boom, boom. I have to tell you, the responses were fantastic. I remember the agency who said, we'll be more creative because we will have one overarching rule. No client feedback allowed. It's their agency. And at the end of this session, because I took 5 minutes to debrief, I said to the audience, in just 10 minutes, you have demonstrated more innovation, more disruption, more creativity, better business model redesign than is currently happening at the top of every global agency and holding company. That's what I mean when I say every one of you has the power to be the future. And you especially have that power because the advertising industry ecosystem of the future is all around you right now. Here in this room, here at Blackweek, are your new agency co-founders, are your future clients, are your future business partners. And what I think is wonderful about Blackweek, and this was touched on in the founders' speeches at the fantastic event last night, for years I've said, and again, this is true of every industry, but it's absolutely true of ours, what we see all around us in our industry is the business syndrome that I call collaborative competition. Collaborative competition is when everybody in a sector competes with everyone else in the sector by doing exactly the same thing everyone else in the sector is doing. That's not the future. The future instead is what I call competitive collaboration. By which I mean, when all of us come together and collaborate to make things better for all of us, in a way that we do not see in our industry currently, on the premise of a rising tide floats all boats, that is what then allows each of us, off the top of that wave, to be uniquely competitive, leveraging our own individual skills and talents. So, Black women, I want you to start your own industry. And I especially want to do that because what Blackweek is out to prove, what I'm out to prove, what I want to see everybody understand, is that DEI stands for driving excessive income. It is only when we own the future, we prove that starting our own industry can make an absolute goddamn fucking shit ton of money, that is when the old world order industry goes, fuck me, we've got to do it like that too. One of my favorite quotes of all time is Alan Kay, who said, in order to predict the future, you have to invent it. I am all about inventing the future. Too many people think the future is something that happens without us, roll this over in its wake. I'm all about decide what you want the future to be and make it happen. Every one of you in this room has the power to do that. Please do. Thank you very much. And guys, we have time for Q&A. So I'm dying for you to ask questions. We have mics. So please, anybody who would like to ask anything, right over there? Yep. Can we get a mic over there?
Hi, Cindy. Thank you for that. That was amazing and inspiring. So I have a question. So I agree with everything you said. However, there is, what we call a war in DEI right now. More recently, the Fearless Fund, Erin Simone organization was shut down after a long legal battle. So things like that are still happening, and it's sort of out of their control, our control. What are your thoughts on that?
Honestly, I'm a great believer in be your own filter. And I'll explain what I mean by that. As Walt referenced, and as anybody who follows me on LinkedIn will know, my LinkedIn bio says, I like to blow shit up, I'm the Michael Bay of business. And the reason it says that is because years ago, I was talking to some potential consultancy clients, and I was talking about my approach to consulting. And I said to them, I consult very selectively, only for clients and brands who want to change the game in their particular sector. So you come to me for radical, innovative, groundbreaking, transformative. I don't do status quo. And then lightheartedly, off the cuff, I went, I like to blow shit up. I'm the Michael Bay of business. And everyone laughed, and I left the meeting, and I thought, actually, that's a great way of summing up what I do, and I've been using that tagline ever since. But I use that line not as a bit of creativity, a bit of fun, a bit of whimsy. I use that line entirely deliberately. Because when I characterize what I do in that way, I attract to me the people who want what I do, I repel the ones who don't. And I want to repel the ones who don't because they're a waste of time, effort, and money. And so in today's current climate, I really recommend be your own filter. You must speak your truth, you must put it out there. When you do that, you will attract to you your tribe, you'll attract the people who get it, who want to back you, want to fund you, want to support you. And you will absolutely repel the ones who don't. And you want to repel them, and you want not to have anything to do with them. Does that make sense?
It does. But when you have the weight of the law against you and a lot of money, in the opposite direction, it's just, it's harder to work through, I'll put it that way. But I agree with you ostensibly. It's just the realities of the different obstacles that we face.
No, I totally hear you on that. I think I would say that I do feel we're at a zeitgeist moment right now. We are seeing the old world order break down all around us. And of course, there's resistance, there's backlash, because there always is when the status quo is challenged. But I do feel, and by the way, a very important part of this is the power of community. And again, this is what Blackweek is all about. When we can aggregate enough of us who are like-minded, share the same values, when we can do our own Avengers Assemble, then we can absolutely push back against those forces.
All right.
Hi, Cindy. Q over here.
Sorry, well, where are you? Oh, over there. Right.
So first and foremost, thank you for all of your contributions to our industry as a whole. When we talk about the attack on DEI, for those of us that are people of color, this is attack on our ancestral culture. This is attack on us. And there are many of us in this room that are warriors for change, and we're tired. So what advice do you have for those of us who constantly hold people accountable for the things that are not changing, similar to the way you have? What advice would you give to keep going?
I'm going to give you a very subjective answer to that, Hugh. because someone else might give you a very different answer. But similarly, and this is absolutely not analogous, but I have a business called MakeLoveNotPorn. And I've been keeping that business alive for 15 years in the face of enormous obstacles, basically because I have a sex tech platform, and every piece of business infrastructure other tech startups take for granted, I can't. The small print always says no adult content. So that's a fundamental business, financial, et cetera barrier. And because of what I do, I did an interview a little while back, which was about the mindset of entrepreneurs. And the interviewers prided themselves on really going deep, getting to our motivations. And so one question they asked me was, so Cindy, have you ever let your ego get in the way of the right thing to do? And I burst out laughing and I said, what ego? I went, I'm humiliated on a daily basis working on Make Love Not Porn. I'm treated like a pariah. I have doors stabbed in my faces. I have people recoil with disgust and shock. I went, I left my ego behind a long time ago. No ego. But I'm sharing that with you simply to say that because I'm exhausted in a whole different context in that sense. And so, people also ask, how do I keep going in the face of all of that? And what is very useful is the thing that most motivates me, the dynamic that keeps me going, no matter what, is a dynamic that I characterize as, I'm going to fucking well show you. You tell me it can't be done, I'm going to fucking well show you. You put a barrier in my path, I'm going to fucking well show you. I take all of that daily demoralization, depression, exhaustion, discouragement, and I turn it into motivation. And in my own case with my startup, I do that because I can see so vividly my own vision of a world where we take the shame, guilt, and embarrassment out of sex. In the same way that when writing this presentation and rehearsing it, I can see so clearly in my own mind a world where the talent and skills and innovation of everybody in this room, and especially black women, are welcomed and empowered and funded and given free rein to remake the industry in the world to be the industry in the world wanted to be. And that keeps me going. I know what it could be like, and we can make it happen. So that's my very subjective response.
Thank you.
First off, I want to say that I'm a stan. I've been following you for years, so thank you for everything that you do. I was very much looking forward to this. You did not disappoint. Tiffany Swanson-Giles, I have an amazing idea that I've been building based out of passion, desire, and necessity to do what you exactly said, bring something new to the industry to drive change. The necessity part, I'm in between gigs right now. The question, I've contemplated, do I go look for funding to help bridge the gap while I'm building with not much capital? Or do I stick it out and build my vision, because once I invite others into the room, I invite other opinions that may change what the vision is and what will ultimately be the big change?
Do you know, and I say this with enormous personal emphasis, do not raise funding if you can possibly manage without it. Absolutely build your vision around a business model designed to make money from day one, because A, by the way, when you prove you can make money from day one, it's a lot easier to raise funding, but B, with any luck, you won't have to. And I say that vehemently because, in my case, unfortunately, the barriers Make Love Not Porn faces mean that I have to find funding because, and just so you know, I have destroyed myself financially for my own business. In a way, to be frank, that probably it would have been more sensible of me not to do that. I've put all of my savings into Make Love Not Porn to keep it going. I've liquidated my retirement fund. I've absolutely jeopardized my personal financial security because I believe in my business. I know I'm not kidding myself. I see the traction every day. And as I say, I have that vision of what the world could be like when we help end rape culture globally, which is our ultimate mission. I don't recommend going that far, honestly. I mean, you're advised not to do that as a founder, and I endorse that. It's too late in my case. But I would say emphatically, absolutely think about how can I design my own business model? How would I like to make money in a way that starts generating revenue from day one? Because you clearly have a product that will be of value, and you can absolutely realize that value. And the other thing I will just say is, because of all my own challenges with funding, follow me on LinkedIn, anybody who doesn't, because I'm regularly posting alternative sources of funding. I'm exploring them for myself. Even though Make Love Not Porn is a for-profit business, I am absolutely looking at grants and philanthropic organizations who want to end rape culture as well. By the way, I will just say, if you appreciate what I've said today, please go to wefunder.com/MakeLoveNotPorn and invest in our equity crowdfunding campaign. Minimum investment is just $100. So please, I would really, it would really help me if you appreciate what I do for our industry, if you can go to wefunder.com/MakeLoveNotPorn and invest in Make Love Not Porn. But also, I am putting those sources of funding out there publicly for all of us all the time. So keep an eye on my feed, because I'm sharing that wealth the moment I find it. Yeah, we've got a question over here.
I probably don't need a mic, but Sydney, I'm Lola. I'm
Darling.
obsessed with you, as you know.
I've written the foreword to her new book.
She has, and it's
Woo!
it's better than the book. No, just kidding. It kind of is. No, but you've been inspiring me, Cindy, since I saw you on Scott Galloway's stage 15 years ago. And more than you know, the way I show up is shaped by watching you for that period of time. The question I often get, especially from Black women who are on the sort of precipice of harnessing the anger that you talked about, and that was so beautifully spoken about, is the critique from one's closest community, one's friends, other Black women even, to behave, to be small, to sort of go along with the rules, to not rock the boat. The forces of sort of making us believe that, sort of embracing that limiting belief, are coming from white men, but they're also coming from us. So how do you suggest for people who are struggling with that? I'm about to dip my toe into harnessing my anger and using my voice. How do you encourage people who are there to sort of get to the other side, to be more so where you are?
Sure. No, I really appreciate the question, Lola. And again, I'm asked this question a lot. How do I get to be as confident as you are? And honestly, the starting point for all of this is, if you've never done this exercise, take a long, hard look into yourself and ask yourself, what do I stand for? What do I believe in? What do I value? What am I all about? Because first of all, when you undertake that exercise, when you identify your personal beliefs and values, first of all, it makes life a lot simpler. Life still throws at you all the shit it always will, but you know exactly how to respond to that shit in any given situation in a way that is true to you. And by the way, that is the secret of happiness. Living your life and working your work in a way that is always true to your values. But secondly, when you know that you are living and working your truth, you are absolutely, pursuing the beliefs and values that are fundamental at your core, then you don't give a damn what anybody else thinks, because you know that you are being true to you. Does that answer your question, Noah?
Yes, it does.
Terrific. Question there?
Hi, thank you so much. I just wanted to say, I really resonated with what you said about not starting an agency and building an industry. And I wanted to just ask you, you did mention that you did coaching and things like that. I've gotten kind of siloed sometimes into the impact vertical of consulting and kind of being that DEI from the inside and kind of that like Dubois versus like Washington situation. What advice would you give to younger Black women, I'm 24, about just like setting the seeds for growing your own industry? I think right now a lot of us are in Gen Z consulting and kind of like being the new generation, but I'm worried that we're kind of getting like stuck with words and not action, and that will we be like repeating kind of the rhetoric of fake action and fake progressivism.
No, it's a great question, and the reason I encourage you to start your own industry is because one of my fundamental philosophies is communication through demonstration. Don't say it, be it, and do it. And so, and by the way, it's entirely possible to begin starting your own industry alongside a job you're currently in. You just need to, as I say, step back from the industry, really, put your own lens into play and go, what do I think should be here that isn't? What would I love to be able to work with? And then actually, you can start building, even before you launch that as a business necessarily, you can start building community around that. Because you can start putting that point of view out there. And by the way, LinkedIn is phenomenal in this context. If you had told me 10 years ago that one day I would say I'm all about LinkedIn, I would have laughed in your face. Today, I'm all about LinkedIn. Twitter used to be my favorite channel. It's a shit show now. Instagram, Facebook are useless. My posts on LinkedIn get more reach, more impressions, more engagement, and more business outcomes for me than on any other channel. So you can start putting out what you believe in on LinkedIn. You can start giving it shape because your tribe will engage with it. You'll get responses. And by the way, honestly, the community of women on LinkedIn is incredible. And you can start testing the waters with that, but also at the same time bringing something new to the table. And as I say, you can absolutely do it while you're still doing your current job. And then when you have enough traction, enough proof of concept, you can jump ship. To focus on that and be additive to our industry and be the future industry because you've come up with something nobody else has.
Awesome, thank you.
Right, there's one question here. Yep. How are we doing on time, by the way, folks? Nobody's yanking me off the... one last one, sorry. Right.
Thank you so much. We have the same initials. I'm Chandra Gwen. You're Cindy Gallop,
Excellent.
So this is Destin, and I love it. I am curious about your perspective on the impacts of artificial intelligence, AI, and the role that it might play in the creation of the new industry. I will say that I think about it as a backward-looking technology, even though everyone sees it as the future, but I'm just curious about how to think about integrating that in terms of the industry and the necessity of it.
Sure. So I'm going to give you a pretty brief answer because I know I have to get off the stage in a moment. Number one, go to Fast Company and search an op-ed I wrote for them last year, which is 3 reasons why the future of AI is women, relies on women. Okay? So read that for my view on AI generally. And then secondly, go to Substack and sign up for Rei Inamoto's newsletter. So Rei Inamoto is a very celebrated creative leader in our industry, Japanese, used to be the chief creative officer of AKQA. He writes brilliantly about the role of AI in our industry and in creativity. I think his point of view is excellent, and so I recommend you go there. And now I really have to get off the stage, I gather. So,
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody.